everyone. So today's short video is a follow-up to the message bubble tutorial. And so pretty much what we did last time is this message component here. And what I want to go over today is how to put it together into this simple scrollable prototype. And it's much simpler than it looks. So first, let's just go over what I have here. The first thing is, of course, the chat bubble, which is what we did last time, and also the status icons, which I got from Phosphor Icons. Then one more small component that I made is this day component. So what this pretty much, it just shows what the date is. And this is nothing more than a text layer wrapped inside auto layout with some fill and very rounded corners. So next thing is this stuff here, and I actually didn't make any of this. So a great thing is that if you do want to have some UI elements for iOS, you don't need to recreate them. There's a great file by Joey Banks, the iOS UI kit, which if you just search for it in the community, it's going to pop up. And if you want to use the components from this file, you can just duplicate it to your workspace. There are tons and tons of components here, and I do sometimes find it difficult to find what I need. So what I like to do is I just go to this search. I just type what I need, and then I use that to find the necessary components. Of course, you can then update these components however you want them to be. So the last piece that I have here is the iPhone frame. And again, if you want to have an iPhone frame, you don't need to search for measurements. All you need to do is just select this frame tool here, and you'll be able to choose which dimensions you want. So I did iPhone 14. And so for this iPhone frame, I also have a couple of fills. The first one is a Telegram background image, which I will link to where I found it, but there is essentially a Telegram channel that just posts links to all the Telegram backgrounds. So I added that and I decreased the opacity to about 20. And then another one is I added a linear gradient fill to kind of match what I have. The reason I added it as a fill and not as like a separate image layer inside this frame is because I don't want to have another layer to manage, especially once we start adding all the scrolling parts, and we want to make sure that the background always stays fixed. Now we can start putting all these parts together. So first I'm going to grab my tab navigation and I'll place it right inside this frame. Just want to make sure it's centered and aligned to the top. And the same thing with the bottom bar, except I want this one to be at the bottom. And I'm going to grab a couple instances of the messages and I'll wrap them into auto layout just so it's faster to work with. And I'll decrease the spacing to 16. And pretty much I could just add a bunch of the text, maybe like a couple dates. And I can also then modify these ones, which ones I want to be incoming, outgoing. I can change all the variants. And I recommend that this is the point at which you fill in all your text, because as you are doing that, obviously your whole frame is an auto layout, so everything like shifts down nicely. It's just a faster way to add your example conversation. And then another thing I want to do is, so I want this to be like a fixed width, maybe around 362. And I will place it inside our frame. And we want it to be centered. And I also want to maybe keep it around like 16 pixels from the edge of the navigation bar. So let's just add a couple more messages so we have something longer to scroll. And I'm going to start by removing this clip content so I can see how long the whole message thread is. Paste a few of these ones. Maybe a couple more. Now let's pretend I have my actual conversation here. And so what I'm going to do once it's ready is remove auto layout. And I want to make sure that all of these, the outgoing messages are aligned to the right. And I'm going to do the same thing with all the days. And for this ones, we just want them to be like in the center. So now what we want to do is I'm going to check on the clip content so it's not visible. And for our overall frame, we're going to select it, go to prototype, and it's already set to overflow vertical, but in case it's not, that's what it should be set to. What we're going to do, we'll select the tab navigation, and for this one, we'll change it from scroll with parents to fixed. And we're going to do the same thing for the bottom navigation. And as you can see, it brings it on top of the message thread. So now we can check to see what we currently have. So we have our scroll here. It's looking pretty good, but there are a couple things that we can do to adjust it. First thing is that you can actually preview it on a device. So I'm going to select the iPhone 14 one. And sometimes when you begin by creating an iPhone frame, it will show the device in the prototype view by default. But in case it doesn't, you can always change it and you can update like the colors as well. Another thing that I like to do is to change the background color of my prototype so it's not always black and maybe something more like light gray. So now if we go back and look at it, it's going to look much nicer. One last thing that I want to mention is, as you can see, my frame ends right under my message. So to check it out, we can unclip this for a moment. And as you can see, like this is the end of my frame. And because of that, we can see the entirety of the message. And in general, it would be nice to have some padding underneath. So all you need to do to fix it is just to extend your frame a little bit down. And now you'll be able to scroll. So maybe it doesn't have to be that much, but just something like this. All right, that's about everything that I wanted to go over as a follow-up to the message tutorial component. I will add all the links I mentioned in this video to the description. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.